Hi, in this video, we're going to add local storage for the tasks component. After all, for a task list, it'd be weird for your task to get blown away if you close your current session. You want your task to remain when you reopen the application. So let's add local storage to the component so that the task and completed tasks are maintained. We're going to start by creating a few local helper methods. One helper method will store the tasks and completed tasks within local storage, and the other will read the stored task or completed tasks from local storage. So first up, let's declare a store tasks helper method up at the top of the file. So make a constant of store tasks that is equal to an arrow function. And the input to this is going to be an object that consists of 1, the tasks, and then 2, the completed tasks. All right. Now we could have made tasks and completed task parameters individually, but I think it's a good idea to have it within one overall object, so that way we can represent the fact that we're going to store this as one overall item within local storage. Speaking of that, we can access local storage by using the globally accessible local storage object. And this has an inner function of setItem, which we can use. The first argument to this is the key in which you want your item to be stored. This is a unique value that will be tied to your item, so you can later access the item at the same key. So above this function, let's declare a global constant that can be reused as a key to access our local storage code. Let's call this the tasks storage key. And notice that I'm uppercasing everything as well as using underscores. This is called the scream case syntax, and it's used for global values such as this as a best practice in JavaScript. The task storage key is going to have the same value of task storage key, and it's going to be a string. Cool. So we can apply this as the actual key for the first argument to setItem. As the second argument, we provide what we want to store. So let's provide an object that consists of the pass-in task within the object parameter, as well as the completed tasks. Cool. A catch, though, is that you need to store a string as the item for local storage. So let's call json.stringify, and we're going to stringify that entire object of the tasks and completed tasks. Cool. So with this functionality, we can now store the tasks and completed tasks every time that they changed. So one option is to call this function as a follow-up every time we do add task, complete task, or delete task. But rather than having to call store task multiple times, let's take advantage of the useEffect hook to store the task again after every single render. After all, a render is triggered when the state changes, so it's going to be a relevant time to store the new tasks. Okay, so at the top of the file, let's also import the useEffect hook. And then we're going to apply the useEffect hook after our useState lines, and then this one is going to have a callback function, and after every single render, let's call store tasks. So as a side effect, we're going to store the task within the local storage, and we're going to pass in an object that consists of the tasks and the completed tasks. Completed task. All right, cool. So notice above that we actually didn't even have to destructure the tasks and completed tasks within this argument. We could simply call this task map and then store the entire task map within the json.stringify line. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and check this out. Restart the app if you don't have it running on the command line already, and then visit the application at localhost 3000 in your browser. Let's go ahead and add a few tasks. We can complete them as well. All right. And now let's see if the local storage actually has the item. So in the console, call local storage and then call getItem, and let's pass in the tasks storage key as the key where we want to get the item. And what you should find is a stringified object that consists of your tasks and completed tasks. Neat. So now we can use this to read the initial data for the task and completed tasks whenever we refresh the browser. So the next step is to set up a helper method that reads this data. We're going to call this read stored tasks. So read stored tasks is the name of the function. It's going to be set to an empty arrow function. This is going to return the result of calling local storage.getItem, and the item is stored under the tasks storage key that we have above. Cool. Note that this is going to return a stringified object though, since we stringified this in the storage within the storeTasks method. We want the original object though, so let's return the parsed version of this by wrapping this with a json.parseLine, which will parse that entire string and then return the relevant object version. Cool. Now the trick is using these stored tasks before we apply the initial values for the use state lines of tasks and completed tasks. So up above those lines, let's first call const stored tasks is equal to calling read stored tasks. And now instead of saying that use state is an empty variable for tasks, what we can do is say that, well, we want the initial value to be whatever we currently have stored for the tasks state within the stored tasks. Likewise, we can do the same thing, saying that we want the completed tasks to be initialized to the completed tasks that are currently stored within the stored tasks. Now, there's a catch with this, and it's that on the very first render, the returned item from local storage is going to be null. So if you open your developer console, you'll find that if you call local storage and then you get item for a key that doesn't have anything stored within it yet, it's going to return null. So same thing with the initial execution of read stored tasks. If we haven't stored anything yet, it's going to return null. And calling null.tasks, so saying null.tasks over here, likewise null.completed tasks, which is what we're doing on the following lines, is invalid JavaScript. It's going to throw an error and crash the program. So it'd be nice if the read stored tasks return the default empty arrays in the case where it's returning null. So as a solution, instead of returning this result right away, let's set this to a variable called task map. So overall, the result is going to be set to a variable of tasks map, which now allows us to check with a ternary expression, is task map actually defined? If so, we're going to return the task map. In the else case, where task map is null, we're going to return the default values, which is an object with a tasks key set to an empty array, as well as the completed tasks key, also set to an empty array. So again, this logic is look at the tasks map that is stored a task storage key. If it exists, well, return that data. If it's null, then return an initial object that consists of the task, which is empty, and a completed task, which is empty as well. Okay, so once you have that, head back to the application, give it a refresh, enter some items, and once you have those items entered, go ahead and complete one or two of them, refresh now, and you should find that that data is preserved across renders. Very cool, so all the tasks remain. Now that this local storage piece is in for the task, I consider this component feature complete. All right, let's move on to more code that will shed further insight on React hooks in the next section. Hey, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to head to the full course at udemy.com/React hooks tutorial. Since you're coming from YouTube, I'm giving you access to the course at the max discount Udemy lets me create. I've posted details in the video description, and be sure to visit my website at davidtkatz.com as well, where you can find links to connect with me. All right, see you in the next one.